place. Southwest United States desert, present day. You stand in the baking heat, gravel crunching beneath your boots, facing a chain-link fence topped with razor wire. The year is now, but the rules feel ancient. No entry, no photos, no questions. All around the globe, forbidden sites like this one mark the boundary between ordinary life and the unknown. There's no crowd, just the distant hum of machines and the heavy silence of a place that doesn't want you here. The air is dense, thick with the weight of secrets. You press closer, feeling the world contract around you as your curiosity meets the immovable will of those who guard these thresholds. In short, every journey into the world's most guarded places begins with a door you're not meant to open. Hey there! Tonight you're about to cross that line, at least in your mind. Picture this. The night is soft and blue, the horizon swimming in shadow, and beyond this fence lies a world where the rules you know simply vanish. It's the sort of place where the hum of machines never quite stops, and the silence behind the wire feels like it's pressing against your skin. There's more hidden here than just secrets. Somewhere deeper in the shadows, a revelation waits, one that could change the way you think about power and secrecy forever. If you find yourself drawn to these mysterious edges, go ahead and like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely love this kind of quiet midnight discovery. And while you're here, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. Imagine us gathered from every corner of the world, each peering into the darkness together. Now, dim your lights, settle in, and let your mind stretch out. This is your invitation to step to the threshold, to breathe in the cool hush, and to prepare for a story that winds between rumor and reality. You stand just outside the fence, the sharp tang of metal in the air, and the weight of unseen eyes prickling across your shoulders. Behind you, the desert stretches away, empty, sun-bleached, and utterly exposed. Ahead, nothing moves. The only sound is the wind scraping grit against the wire. This border is not just physical, it's psychological too. It divides what you're allowed to know from what you're not supposed to imagine. All over the world, places like this exist, hidden in jungles, buried beneath mountains, lost on forbidden islands. Each one is a locked door, and every locked door has a story. You notice a small sign, faded by the sun, but still clear in its warning. No trespassing, no exceptions. The threat is simple: cross, and you enter a world where the rules are written by someone else. It's the kind of warning that makes you think twice, even if you're only standing close. The gravel under your boots feels different here, as if you're standing on the edge of something bigger than yourself. You wonder who decided where this fence should go, and what they're keeping inside. That's the first secret. Boundaries are always drawn for a reason, but the reason is never written on the sign. A low mechanical hum rises and falls, vibrating through the soles of your feet. Somewhere out of sight, machines are moving, working, watching, perhaps even waiting. The sound is both comforting and unsettling. It reminds you that you're not alone, even when you can't see anyone. The silence beyond the fence feels deeper than the quiet of the open desert. It's a silence that suggests activity, not inactivity. A silence that hides more than it reveals. You crouch, peering through the diamond-shaped gaps in the chain-linked On the other side, the sand is undisturbed, except for a set of faint tire tracks curving away toward a low, concrete structure. It's squat, windowless, and almost disappears against the pale landscape. No insignia, no flag, just the suggestion of something important, something protected. The air on your side of the fence is dry and heavy, but you imagine it's even thicker inside, as though the atmosphere itself is weighed down by secrecy. In the world of forbidden places, every detail is a clue, and every absence is a message. What you can't see is just as important as what you can. There are no footsteps, no laughter, no hint of ordinary life, only the faint echo of purpose, hidden behind walls and wire. You realize that the most guarded places are designed to make you feel small, to remind you that you are on the outside for a reason. That's the real power of a barrier. It doesn't just keep you out. It makes you wonder what you're missing. You lean back, letting your eyes adjust to the shifting light. The sun is lower now, shadows growing longer. For a moment, you think you see movement, a flicker of white against the building's edge. But when you blink, it's gone. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe not. The uncertainty is part of the experience. Every rumor you've ever heard about secret installations, hidden bunkers, and forbidden research feels suddenly plausible. You start to imagine the stories that could be unfolding just out of sight. You remember hearing whispers about a mountain half a world away. Mount Yamantau, a name that surfaces in conspiracy forums and late-night radio, always spoken with a hint of awe. The most widespread theory is that Mount Yamantau is a vast nuclear bunker designed as a continuity of government facility. The idea is simple and chilling. If the world above ever falls apart, the people in charge will have a place to hide and continue. No one really knows what's inside, but some analysts believe the Mount Yamantau complex could shelter tens of thousands of people. That's enough to keep a small city running underground, away from prying eyes. Journalists who have tried to get close to Mount Yamantau never make it far. They're stopped, questioned, sometimes turned away before reaching the base. There are stories of roadblocks appearing out of nowhere, of sudden detours and silent escorts. It's a pattern you recognize from other secret sites. Access is tightly controlled, curiosity is discouraged, and the official story is always incomplete. Sometimes, the best way to protect a secret is simply to make it impossible to get close. You shift your weight, feeling the gravel dig into your heel. The sun dips lower, the heat fading, replaced by a chill that creeps up from the ground. The silence grows heavier. You wonder if someone is watching you now, from a hidden camera or a distant tower. Maybe you're already part of the story, your presence noted and filed away. That's the risk of approaching places like this. Even standing outside the fence, you're crossing a line you can't see. A bird calls, sharp and sudden, breaking the quiet. You flinch, then laugh at yourself. The desert is full of surprises, but the biggest ones are always behind the barriers. You think about the researchers who sometimes get inside, not to the heart of the mystery, but to the edges. In some archives, you can request a specific file, which is brought out under supervision if approved. Even then, you never see the whole picture. Every document is carefully chosen, every detail controlled. The secrets are rationed, never given away all at once. There's a paradox at play here. The more guarded a place is, the more people want to know about it. The fence, the signs, the silence, they're all invitations in disguise. They say, stay away. But they also say, something here is worth guarding. You start to realize that the real power of secrecy isn't just in what's hidden. It's in the way it makes you imagine what could be. As dusk settles, the colors of the desert deepen. The sky shifts from gold to purple, and the fence takes on a ghostly glow. You're aware of your own breath, slow and steady, matching the rhythm of the world around you. The hum of machines is softer now, almost blending with the wind. For a moment, you feel the weight of all the unanswered questions hanging in the air. What would you find if you could cross the line? What stories would you uncover, and what dangers would you face? You remind yourself of the stakes. Accessing these places means confronting the unknown, risking truth, danger, or challenging the very boundaries of secrecy that define power, security, and myth. Every step closer is a step into uncertainty. Most people never get this far, never stand at the threshold. You have to decide how much the answer is worth to you. The gravel shifts again, and you hear a distant clang, echoing off metal and stone. Someone or something is moving beyond your line of sight. You freeze, heart thumping, unsure if you've been noticed. For a moment the world feels suspended, balanced between action and inaction. You're not sure if you want to be discovered or remain invisible. The possibility of being caught adds another layer to the mystery. It's not just about what's inside, but about your own place in the story. You think of the people who work here, who pass through these gates every day. To them, the extraordinary is routine. They know the codes, the schedules, the right way to look at a camera and nod. For them, secrecy is a job, not a puzzle. You wonder if they ever stop to think about what it means to guard a place so carefully that almost no one knows what's inside. Maybe they do. Maybe that's why the silence feels so heavy. The air cools further, and you pull your jacket tighter around your shoulders. The landscape is changing, the day slipping into night. You realize that the fence is not just a barrier, it's a marker of time. On one side, the present, on the other, a future you're not allowed to see. Every forbidden place is a crossroads, a point where history and mystery collide. The decisions made here ripple out, shaping the world in ways you can't predict. You take one last look through the fence, memorizing every detail, the texture of the wire, the shape of the building, the pattern of shadows on the sand. You know you'll remember this feeling, the mix of curiosity and caution, the sense of standing on the edge of something vast and unknowable. That's what keeps you coming back to stories like this. The thrill of not knowing, the hope that someday someone will find a way inside. You step back, the gravel crunching softly, and let the silence close in around you. The desert is calm now, the machines quiet, the secrets safe for another night. But somewhere, just beyond the barrier, the story continues. You're left with more questions than answers, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Tomorrow, another threshold will appear, another door you're not meant to open. For now, the world's most guarded places remain just out of reach, silent, watchful, waiting. You keep your eyes open, ready for the next shadow, the next whisper, the next forbidden path. The journey has only just begun. Euro's late morning. You stand at the tree line, boots pressed into frost-bitten soil, the horizon braced by Mount Yamantau's pale mass. Only the wind speaks, thin, insistent, threading through pine needles and rattling the warning signs nailed to birch trunks. Beyond a ribbon of razor wire, the mountain's snow-laden shoulder rises, streaked with scars that satellites first glimpsed decades ago. The cold stings your cheeks, sharper than any map line, and you sense movement before you see it. The angular forms of patrol trucks, headlights flickering through the pines, soldiers scanning the hush for anything out of place. Your breath clouds the air as you edge closer to the boundary, gravel crunching beneath your boots. The road ahead is broad and empty, but it feels watched. Every stone and tire track a potential clue for unseen eyes. Mount Yamantau's reputation lingers, heavier than the snow. In the 1960s, Western intelligence analysts gathered in dim-lit rooms, poring over grainy aerial photos. They saw roads appearing where forests once stood, and strange geometric shadows etched across the mountain's skin. The rumors started then, and they have never really stopped. You pause at a rusted sign, its Cyrillic letters painted in blood red, no entry. It's not just a warning, it's a promise. The air here is thick with the scent of pine and diesel. In the distance, the faint whir of engines rises and falls, almost lost beneath the wind. There's a rhythm to it, patrols coming and going, always on the move, never quite visible long enough to study. You keep a low profile, heart thudding in time with the footsteps you hear just out of sight. The silence is deceptive. Every so often, a radio crackles. A voice barks, a brief command, then cuts out. You catch a glimpse of a soldier's face, drawn, young, eyes scanning the tree line with a kind of weary vigilance. This is not a place for mistakes. The stakes are high. If you cross that line, you risk more than a stern warning. You risk vanishing into a system designed to erase trespassers, or at least to ensure they never return with stories to tell. A gust kicks up, flinging ice crystals against your jacket. If you look up, you see nothing but sky, gray, clouded, and empty. But that emptiness is enforced. The airspace above Mount Yamantau is strictly off-limits. No commercial flights cross this patch of sky. Satellite images show the mountain's spine riddled with infrastructure, but details vanish into the white blur. Somewhere beneath your feet, tunnels twist deeper than any miner's dream. What's inside? No one on this side of the wire really knows. You move along the fence, boots crunching over snow. The boundary feels alive, bristling with the invisible pressure of surveillance. There are no birds here, only the distant echo of boots on stone. It's as if the mountain itself refuses to yield its secrets, even to the cold. The closer you get, the more the world narrows, the trees thin, the wind sharpens, the silence thickens until it feels almost claustrophobic. Suddenly, a convoy rattles past. Camouflage trucks, windows darkened, engines low and throaty. The soldiers inside do not look out. For a moment, you wonder what they know, what stories they share in the warmth of the barracks, or if they, too, are kept in the dark. The trucks vanish into the mountain's shadow, swallowed by a curve in the road. You are left with the low rumble still humming in your bones. The consequence is clear. Anyone who gets too close is noticed. That matters, because attention here is rarely good news. You press onward, drawn by the mountain's gravity. The air grows colder, the ground harder, the silence deeper. Once, a journalist tried to cross this boundary. She made it as far as the first checkpoint before being turned back, her camera confiscated, her notes erased. Others have tried with the same result. Mount Yamantau does not tolerate curiosity. It swallows it whole. A single line of footprints veers away from the road, disappearing into a stand of spruce. You hesitate. Every fiber tells you to follow, but the forest closes in quickly, branches clawing at your coat. Somewhere ahead, the ground dips, a shallow trench filled with old snow. It's easy to imagine someone waiting in that hollow, watching through binoculars, silently recording your every move. Yet, the real barrier is not the fence or the guards, but the weight of myth. Mount Yamantau is a fortress built not just of concrete and steel, but of rumor and fear. Some say there are dormitories inside, enough to house an army. Others whisper about underground hospitals, command centers, and networks of communication cables that snake through the bedrock. None of it is proven. All of it is possible. That uncertainty is its own warning. You stop at a bend where the road narrows. The snow is deeper here, muffling your steps. The forest thins, giving way to a view of the mountain's flank. In the distance, you see a concrete portal half buried in the ice. It could be an entrance or just another decoy. The mountain is full of such ambiguities. You scan for cameras, but see none. It would be foolish to assume you are not being watched. The stakes here are not just personal. They ripple outward. If you were to cross this line, you would not simply risk your own safety. You would challenge the very boundaries of secrecy that define power in this place. Every rumor about Mount Yamantau is a contest between what can be known and what must remain hidden. The wind picks up, carrying the bitter tang of ozone. Somewhere overhead, a drone buzzes, a faint mechanical insect against the sky. For a moment, you stand perfectly still. The sound fades, but it leaves a question behind. How much of what you see is real, and how much is theater? The consequence is immediate. Uncertainty breeds caution. That's why so few try to go further. You crouch low, knees pressing into frozen moss. There's a rhythm to the patrols. Every 12 minutes, a truck passes. Every 20, a pair of soldiers walks the fence, rifles slung loose, but eyes sharp. You start to notice the small details. A torn glove caught on the barbed wire, a cigarette butt half buried in snow, the faint outline of old tire tracks leading off the main road. Each clue tells a story, but none give away the ending. Behind you, the forest seems to close ranks, branches knitting together to hide your retreat. There is a sense that time works differently here. History has left its mark, but the present is always in motion. The mountain's secrets are not relics, but living things, guarded by routines and rituals you can only glimpse from the outside. The stakes are refreshed. Every step closer risks not only discovery, but the unraveling of stories that have shaped nations. You stand, brushing snow from your knees. Your gloves are stiff, fingertips numb. The cold seeps into your bones, but you can't move yet. You listen to the silence, broken only by the distant snap of boots on gravel. Somewhere above, the mountain waits, vast and indifferent. The horizon glows with a pale blue light, hinting at a sun that never quite breaks through the clouds. For a moment, you imagine what lies beneath. Miles of tunnels, rooms humming with the low pulse of generators, walls lined with maps and radios. The scale is impossible to grasp. Is it a bunker, a command center, a city beneath the mountain? No one outside the wire knows for certain. The consequence is simple. What remains hidden here could change everything, or nothing at all. You retreat, boots retracing your path through the thinning snow. The mountain is no less mysterious for your visit. If anything, the silence is heavier now, weighted with the knowledge that some secrets are guarded not by walls, but by the certainty that no one will ever know for sure. The air behind the fence feels different, charged with a kind of watchful patience. The patrols keep moving, engines growling in the distance. The wind shifts, carrying a new chill. You linger at the checkpoint, where the road narrows and signs warn in bold red, "Entry forbidden." Mount Yamantau checkpoint. Dawn. Your breath meets the cold Ural air, and a barrier of steel and silence greets you. The road here tapers to a single lane, hemmed by birch and the hush of a mountain that swallows sound. You stand just outside a steel fence, barbed wire tracing the horizon like a signature you're not meant to read. Guards in dark uniforms linger by a squat booth, their eyes visible, their thoughts unreadable. You feel exposed, as if the mountain itself is watching, not just the men with rifles. The only movement comes from the wind, which stirs frost from the ground and whips it against your boots. The checkpoint is a bottleneck for curiosity. Red warning signs, bold and unfaded, bark at you. Entry forbidden. There's a sense that the warning is not just against trespass, but against wanting to know at all. Beyond the fence, a town sits in the shadow of the slopes, its existence confirmed only by the faint outline of rooftops and the suggestion of shuttered windows. No smoke rises from chimneys. No dogs bark. Every house looks abandoned. Yet you sense that someone is always watching from inside. A rare figure, always in uniform, paces the empty street, pausing at every corner as if counting steps or marking time. The silence is thicker than the frost. You try to listen for life, but the only answer is the hum of unseen machines, distant and constant, vibrating through the soles of your feet. This is not a place you simply walk into. The town is closed, its population hand-picked and invisible to outsiders. You realize that everyone inside belongs to the mountain, and the mountain belongs to them. No outsider has ever been allowed past these gates. In all the decades since the Iron Curtain first fell, no journalist has crossed the threshold. No documentary crew has slipped through, not even in secret. You are left with only the view you have now, just outside, counting breaths and heartbeats, feeling the pressure of eyes unseen. The absence of stories is what tells you the most. There are no images, no leaks, no whispers from defectors. Not a single credible account has escaped the mountain's grip. The only truth is enforced by silence. That means everyone living here, every resident, every guard, every technician, carries the weight of secrecy like another layer of winter clothing. Even the air seems claustrophobic, as if it's been compressed by the stories that can't be told. You step closer to the fence, boots crunching in the frost. The cold is sharp, but your curiosity is sharper. You scan for cameras and spot 3, each one tracking your slightest move. It's impossible to tell who's watching, or whether the watchers are human at all. Sometimes, the only thing more unnerving than being observed is not knowing what's doing the observing. A train track runs parallel to the fence, its rails half buried in snow, leading somewhere that isn't on any map. That's your second clue. The infrastructure here is overbuilt, but not for comfort. The town's streets are too wide for a village this size, and the power lines are heavy with transformers. You wonder what needs so much electricity in a place where nothing ever happens in public. You sense the stakes. To step inside is to confront the unknown, but even lingering here is risky. A single misstep could mean you disappear, not just from this road, but from every story ever told. You watch as a black SUV slips through the checkpoint, windows tinted, plates unreadable. It vanishes into the fog with no sound but the crunch of gravel. The silence behind the fence is absolute, broken only by the low hum of machines you cannot see. Every few minutes, a faint vibration pulses through the ground, steady, almost like a heartbeat. You imagine it's the mountain's own pulse, or maybe the rhythm of something buried far below. The mountain itself, Mount Yamantau, towers above, its slopes pale and unyielding. The Urals have always been a border, but here the line is drawn not on any map, but in the mind. You think about power, how it's guarded, how it's hidden, how it's enforced, not by what you see, but by what you're never allowed to see. The guards at the checkpoint don't speak. If you approach, they simply raise a hand and shake their heads. There's no negotiation, no explanation. If you ask why, they reply, "It's for your own safety." The phrase lingers in the air, heavy and unsatisfying. You wonder what they mean by safety. Whose safety? And from what? The only thing more chilling than a locked door is not knowing what's on the other side. You notice the checkpoint's logbook perched on a desk. Its pages are crisp, almost unused. Only a handful of names, all local, all approved. Outsiders never make the list. You ask about archives, about history. The answer is always the same. To see anything, you must request a file. If your request is approved, the file is brought out under supervision, never leaving the room. No one reads alone here. No one remembers unsupervised. You start to grasp how total secrecy can shape a place. It isn't just about walls or fences, but about erasing the possibility of story. Even defectors, you learn, have stayed silent. No one has ever come forward with tales of life inside. The absence of rumors is its own kind of rumor. The longer you wait, the more you notice the details that don't fit. The town's streetlights are always on, even in daylight. The air smells faintly metallic, as if something chemical drifts from vents you can't see. Once, you catch a glimpse of a mural on a distant wall, painted over, erased, as if the past itself is forbidden here. You try to imagine daily life on the inside. Do children play here? Are there birthdays, weddings, funerals? Every sign suggests not. The town feels paused, waiting for a story that never starts. You remember hearing that even supply trucks arrive at odd hours, headlights off, drivers never leaving the cab. The routines are as secret as the reasons behind them. Every so often, a low whistle cuts the air, and the guards snap to attention. You realize this is a place built on protocols, not personalities. Here, routine is a shield, and deviation is a threat. The stakes are refreshed. This is not just about what you can't see, but about a world that's structured so you never even think to ask. The ground underfoot is packed hard by years of boots, but you sense that most steps lead in circles. You can almost feel the weight of all the questions that have ever been turned away at this fence. The cold creeps higher, numbing your fingers, but your mind races. You strain to hear anything from the town, a laugh, a shout, even a cough, but silence wins every time. You wonder how people adapt to life under constant surveillance. Is the pressure crushing, or does it become invisible? The only answer is the air itself, thickened by the presence of secrets. You spot a single figure at a window, the curtain twitching as you look up. A face disappears before you can make out a feature. The message is clear. You are meant to remain an outsider, always. You step back, feeling the weight of invisible eyes. Even the birds seem to avoid this place, their flight paths curving wide around the perimeter. You realize that even nature respects the boundaries here. You hear the faintest echo of footsteps behind you. For a moment, you wonder if you've lingered too long. But the sound fades, replaced by the mechanical hum, the silent town, and the mountain that guards all its answers. You breathe in the cold, metallic air, tasting the distance between you and the truth. The only certainty is that the story ends at the fence, for now. You listen as the official line shifts. Sometimes it's a food storehouse, sometimes a mining site, sometimes a vault for treasures. Mount Yamantau, southern Urals, late afternoon, the wind curling with a metallic chill, and you're standing at a barbed wire fence that seems to go on forever. All you hear is the sigh of the wind and the faint, persistent hum of unseen generators. The mountain itself looms above, a dark, silent monolith, its slopes scrubbed clean of any sign of human life. Somewhere behind you, a guard post sits quietly, its windows mirrored, giving nothing away. Every step closer, the silence grows heavier, the air denser, as if the mountain itself is pressing secrets into your skin. You find yourself staring at a sign bolted to the gate. No entry, no explanation. You imagine the same warning has hung here, in one form or another, for decades. The official story shifts with the seasons. Sometimes it's a food warehouse, sometimes a mining project, sometimes a fortress for treasures too valuable to name. Each version is delivered with the same blank face. You watch a crow land on the wire, cocking its head, as if waiting for the next explanation. The most persistent rumor is darker and far more ambitious. They say Yamantau is a nuclear bunker, built not just to survive a war, but to outlast the end of the world. A city beneath the mountain. You picture endless tunnels spiraling downward, rooms lined with steel, generators beating like buried hearts. If the surface burns, the story goes. The machinery of government will keep humming here for centuries. That's the myth. What you actually see is a mountain wrapped in silence, with no visible entrances, no windows, no movement. Not even birds nest near the upper slopes. The air tastes faintly of iron, sharp and cold. You're not the first to stand here waiting for a sign. During the Cold War, foreign satellites watched as roads and railway lines snaked toward Yamantau, carrying untold tons of supplies and laborers. The construction was vast, undeniable. But what did they build? No one on the outside knows. You pull your coat tighter as the wind picks up. Every so often, a low thrum vibrates through the ground, too deep for trucks, too regular for mining. The official line never quite fits the evidence. If it's a food storehouse, why the restricted airspace? If it's a mine, why the convoys of concrete and steel? If it's a treasure vault, why does no one ever come out? The stakes are simple. If the truth about Yamantau ever slipped, it could shake your sense of what's possible in the modern world. You're not just peering at a fence. You're standing at the edge of a system designed to keep you guessing forever. Somewhere above, the sky is empty. No commercial flights allowed here. It's as if the mountain insists on erasing not just its own story, but yours as well. The rumor mill never rests. Some say the mountain holds hydroponic farms, so the people inside could live for years without opening a door. Others whisper about entire lakes hidden underground, or railways that vanish into the rock. But no documentary crew has ever filmed inside. There are no leaked photographs, no satellite shots of open hangars or blowing control rooms. You wonder what it would feel like to step inside. Would you hear the echo of your own footsteps, or the steady roar of machines that never sleep? Would the air taste different, filtered, and forever recycled? Or would you find only more silence stretching out forever? The mountain is a riddle with a dozen answers, none of them satisfying. When Western analysts tried to map the site, they found only more questions. The rail lines disappeared into tunnels and never reappeared. The roads ended at blank concrete walls. Every visible detail seemed designed to frustrate curiosity. It's the kind of mystery that grows with every attempt to solve it. One theory lingers. Yamantau was built so that the Russian state could never fully die, no matter what happened on the surface. The facility, if it exists, is not just a shelter. It's a promise, a way for power to persist, even if everything else falls. You think about what that means for everyone on the outside. The stakes are not just about secrets. They're about the boundaries of what anyone can truly know. A snow flurry starts swirling around your feet. The mountain seems to retreat into itself. You feel watched, but see no eyes. Somewhere behind the fences, the truth waits, untouched, unspoken. The silence is not just absence, it's a presence, thick and deliberate. Every gust of wind feels like a warning. You can't help but wonder if that's by design. Then, a sudden shift. A truck approaches from the tree line, headlights off. It stops short of the main gate, idles for a moment, then reverses into the trees and disappears. No doors open, no voices call out. The only trace is a set of tire tracks, already filling with snow. The consequence is clear. Even the smallest movement here is choreographed, hidden and meant to be forgotten. You remember hearing stories in Moscow, how even officials tasked with inspecting Yamantau were driven in circles, blindfolded, never allowed to see more than a glimpse. The few who returned spoke only in riddles. Some claimed to have heard the low drone of turbines, or to have seen doors thick as bank vaults. Others said nothing at all, as if the secrets had taken root inside them. Your breath fogs in the cold air. The silence now feels claustrophobic, pressing in from all sides. The mountain slopes are dotted with frost-bitten brush, and the outlines of old footpaths erased by time and secrecy. Nothing here is accidental. Even the landscape seems to conspire. You step back from the fence, boots crunching on gravel. The hum of machines fades, replaced by the soft hush of snow on stone. Every detail, every rumor, every contradiction hangs in the air unresolved. The mountain keeps its own counsel. You sense that no matter how long you wait, the riddle will only deepen. In the end, Yamantau is less a place than a boundary. It is the line between what you are allowed to know and what you are not. The silence is an answer of sorts. You came seeking facts, but found only the weight of possibility. That's the paradox. The more you learn, the less you understand. The stakes echo in your mind. If a facility like this exists, it means that power can vanish behind stone and steel, surviving undetected, unaccountable. It means that the world you see is only half the story. Your sense of safety, of order, is shaped by what you are not allowed to witness. The cold bites deeper as the light fades. You realize you have not heard another human voice for hours. The mountain dominates everything, the weather, the stories, even your own thoughts. You turn away, but the riddle follows you, each step a question with no answer. As you leave, the silence behind the fence grows thicker, more insistent. The hum of machines is gone. Only the wind remains, whispering against the wire. You imagine it carrying secrets, circling the mountain forever. You keep your eyes on the horizon. Somewhere beyond, the world returns to normal. Roads, villages, the distant glow of electric lights. But here, at the edge of Yamantau, you are reminded of how easily the known world ends. The consequence is simple. The unknown shapes everything you believe. Ahead, the sky is bruised with evening. You walk away, boots leaving shallow prints in the snow, the mountain shadow stretching behind you. The silence at your back is complete, absolute. For now, the riddle holds. You sense there is more to uncover. The world's forbidden places are never just about what they hide. They are about what you are willing to risk to know them. And Yamantau is only one chapter in a much larger unfinished story. You stand in a marble corridor beneath Rome, the air cool and echoing with centuries of footsteps. Rome, midday, you and a Swiss guard at the edge of a marble corridor. The hush presses in, thick as velvet, as you stand at the threshold of the Vatican's secret archives. Your shoes echo on the polished stone. The corridor's cool breath carries the faint trace of incense and the older, sharper tang of ancient paper, layers of time pressed into scent. At the far end, a solitary door interrupts the rhythm of arches. The door is heavily barred, crowned by a stern bronze lock, and watched by a uniformed guard whose gaze lingers just a little too long on your visitor's badge. This is not merely a door. It is a border between the visible city and a kingdom of secrets. You pause, letting the silence settle. Somewhere behind you, a clock chimes. In this city, time itself feels ceremonial, cycling through rituals as old as empire. On the wall, a thin seam in the marble hints at a hidden passage, a reminder that even here, what you see is never all there is. You breathe in. The air is heavy, almost damp, laced with a subtle metallic note. It is the smell of keys and centuries-old locks. Your guide, an archivist in a dark suit, offers a careful smile, then lowers his voice. Only a few are allowed past this point, he says. If your name is not on the list, the door never opens. You nod, feeling the scrutiny in his gaze. The process to enter is as much performance as protocol. Applications submitted, references checked, intentions weighed with the gravity of a conclave. Even then, the answer is usually no. You wonder what makes these archives so fiercely guarded. The answer is not just in the documents. Though the promise of papal correspondence, secret treaties, and the minutes of councils is enough to tempt any historian. It is the ritual itself, the choreography of access, that turns paper into power. You sense it in the way your guide's footsteps slow as you draw nearer to the threshold. The guard at the door does not move. Instead, he holds out a clipboard, demanding another signature. You sign, your hand steady, though your heart beats faster. Every layer of security is a reminder. The deeper you go, the more you risk disturbing something that prefers to sleep. The stakes here are not only historical, they are existential, buried in the idea that some truths are too potent for daylight. Inside, the hush deepens. You are led into a vestibule where the light shifts from gold to grey. The room is lined with shelves, each stacked with neat boxes and leather-bound ledgers. You can almost hear the flutter of moth wings between the pages. Here, the weight of history is not a metaphor. It is literal, pressing down from every shelf, every sealed drawer. No photographs are allowed inside. The rules are spoken softly, but they are absolute. Your phone, your watch, even your pen, all must be left behind. The only thing you carry is a pencil, stubby and dull, handed over with the reverence usually reserved for relics. The implication is clear. What you see here cannot leave, except as a memory or a hand-copied note. The air becomes denser as you move deeper. It is not just the lack of windows, but the sense that the rooms themselves are shrinking, closing in around you. Your breath feels louder. In the distance, a trolley rattles, breaking the silence for a moment. The archivist leads you past a row of cabinets, then stops at a locked drawer. He produces a small, ornate key, twisting it with a practiced motion. The drawer opens with a quiet sigh. Inside, you glimpse a folder marked with a single word, Latin, faded, but unmistakable. You cannot read the rest. The archivist does not offer to translate. Instead, he closes the drawer again, almost as if you have seen too much by accident. The rules are clear. You see only what you are meant to see, and nothing more. You realize that every barrier is intentional. a layer designed not just for security, but for ceremony. The paradox is sharp. The Vatican claims to be the world's most universal city, open to all faiths and nations. Yet here you are, hemmed in by velvet ropes and silent guards. The archives are both a treasury and a tomb. Each document is a relic, but also a warning. You are reminded, with every step, that history is a living thing, wary, defensive, and capable of biting back. As you pause at another threshold, your guide leans in. Some say there are letters here from kings and emperors, never seen by the outside world, he whispers. Others believe there are lost gospels or records of miracles, proof of things the church prefers to keep in the dark. You catch the flicker of amusement in his eyes. It is the smile of someone who knows that myth is sometimes more powerful than fact. For a moment, you wonder which secrets are real and which have been conjured by centuries of rumor. What matters is that the line between myth and reality is never quite clear. The archives thrive on that ambiguity. They are not just a place, but a performance, an ongoing negotiation between what can be known and what must remain hidden. The tension is everywhere, in the careful way each box is labeled, in the guarded tone of your guide, in the way the guards glance at you, then away. You hear, distantly, a door slam. The sound is swallowed almost instantly by the thick walls. Somewhere in these corridors, a cardinal's footsteps echo, slow and deliberate. You feel the eyes of history on your back. Each step you take is watched, measured, and, if necessary, remembered. The archives do not trust easily. They do not forget. You begin to understand why access is so tightly controlled. It is not just about protecting documents. It is about guarding the idea of secrecy itself. The atmosphere is both oppressive and exhilarating. You strain to catch a glimpse of something forbidden, a glimpse of a letter from an emperor, a map with edges burned away, a record of a council whose decisions shaped the fate of nations. But always there is another locked door, another velvet rope. The closer you get, the more you feel the weight of what you cannot see. For a fleeting moment, you wonder what would happen if you broke the rules. If you snapped a secret photograph or slipped a page into your pocket, the thought is electric, but also terrifying. You remember the stories, whispers of careers ended, reputations ruined, access revoked with the stroke of a pen. The archives are generous to the obedient, ruthless to the reckless. That is the cost of proximity to power. The ritual is relentless. Each request for a document is met with a form, each form with a weight. The archivists move with the calm precision of priests, their voices low and measured. You are reminded, again, that you are a guest here, tolerated, but never quite trusted. Every so often, a draft of cool air slips under a door, carrying with it the sound of distant bells. Outside, Rome pulses with life. Inside, time has been folded, pressed into the parchment and dust. The archives are not the only fortress of secrecy in the world. Your mind drifts for an instant to another threshold, this time far from Europe, at the foot of Mount Yamantau. There, too, secrets are guarded behind fences and patrols, but the methods are blunt, military, and absolute. At least one entire town near the mountain is closed to outsiders, its population drawn only from those connected to the facility. Journalists who try to get close are stopped, questioned, or turned away before they even glimpse the base. Roads are monitored. Patrols enforce invisible boundaries. The contrast is stark. In the Vatican, secrecy is a matter of ritual and myth, layers of velvet and marble. At Mount Yamantau, it is steel, camouflage, and the hum of machinery. Both are equally effective. Both are designed to keep you out. You realize that secrecy can be elegant or brutal, but the result is the same. You, the outsider, are left standing at the threshold, your curiosity sharpened and denied. You return your attention to the shelves before you. The archivist waits, patient but unyielding. He offers you a single folder, a compromise, a gesture. Inside, you find a letter, written in looping script. It is a mundane piece of correspondence, not the revelation you hoped for. But even this small glimpse feels illicit, as if you have trespassed on a conversation never meant for your ears. The silence is suddenly oppressive. You realize that every question you ask is weighed, every answer measured. The archives do not give up their secrets easily. They expect you to earn every scrap of knowledge, to prove that you can be trusted with what you find. The tension is not in what is shown, but in what is withheld. That is the real power of a forbidden place. You look up, searching for your next move. The air is thick, claustrophobic. Your guide nods, signaling that your time is almost up. You have seen only the outermost layer, the faintest brush with the true depth of the archives. Yet even this is enough to remind you that some mysteries are meant to be glimpsed, not solved. As you are led back through the marble corridor, the door closes behind you with a dull thud. You are back in the world of sunlight and noise, but the weight of secrecy lingers. You cannot shake the sense that you have brushed against something vast, ancient, and unresolved. The paradox remains. The more tightly a secret is held, the more it demands to be uncovered. You keep walking, pulse quickened by what you have not seen yet. Vatican City, 1986. You stand in a cool, echoing corridor, the marble beneath your shoes polished by centuries of wary footsteps. A single Swiss guard nods you through a heavy wooden door. You're inside, but not truly inside, not where it matters. The air smells faintly of old parchment and wax polish. Light filters through narrow windows, painting stripes across endless shelves. You're permitted just a few paces before a stern-faced supervisor blocks your path. He glances at your credentials, lips pressed thin, then gestures to a small desk beneath a flickering lamp. You sit, heart thumping with anticipation and a touch of dread. This is the Vatican's secret archives, the most mythologized library in the world. The name itself is a misnomer. Secret means private, not mysterious, at least in Latin. But the effect is the same. The shelves stretch out, vanishing into darkness. Most will remain untouched by you, or by anyone else who isn't a high-ranking church official. Only a sliver of these shelves have ever been graced by outside eyes. The rest, you sense, are defended not only by locks, but by a ritual of denial. A hush settles, a silence that's almost physical. Somewhere, a distant machine hums, But there's no foot traffic, no casual chatter. Every movement you make is shadowed by the supervisor's gaze. You're allowed to request a file, but only if you know exactly what to ask for. You scribble a title onto a request form, hands sweating. The supervisor disappears into the gloom. You're left with your own pulse and the muted ticking of a clock. Minutes pass, though it feels longer. Your mind wanders, what lies just beyond your reach. The Council of Trent's original minutes. Letters that might upend centuries of dogma, or simply records of mundane papal bureaucracy. There's no way to know. The supervisor returns, carrying a single folder. You're allowed to open it, but he remains at your shoulder. You can take notes, but only in pencil. Every line you write is scrutinized before you leave. You reach for your phone, almost by habit. The supervisor's hand lands gently but firmly atop the folder. No cameras allowed. No photographs, no digital records, only what you can copy by hand, under watchful eyes. That rule is absolute. The atmosphere thickens, as if the stones themselves are listening. The folder contains what you asked for, and nothing more. There's no chance to browse, no opportunity to follow an unexpected thread. Knowledge is rationed, doled out in the smallest increments. You sense the stakes. Every page withheld is a page that could change how the world sees power, faith, or even itself. If you ask the wrong question, access may be revoked. If you linger too long, you'll be escorted out. The price of curiosity is measured in the careful shuffling of feet and the weight of unsaid words. The archive is a fortress of process as much as stone. The real barrier isn't just the walls, but the ritual itself. Each layer of bureaucracy is another lock. The silence grows oppressive. You try to memorize the details of the file, knowing your time is short. When you hand it back, the supervisor vanishes into the gloom, and you're left with only your notes, checked, initialed, and sealed. You're ushered out the way you came, past the guard, into the sunlit square. The transition is jarring. Outside, Rome bustles with life and noise. Inside, the archive remains sealed, a world apart. You realize that most of the Vatican's secrets are protected not by force, but by slow suffocation. The process itself is a moat, a labyrinth, and a mask. You think about the rumors. Some say there are hidden rooms beneath the archives, vaults filled with forbidden texts. Others claim it's all a smokescreen. The truth is, no outsider can say for sure. The myth lives on precisely because the process never changes. Each year, a few more files are released, carefully chosen. The real treasures, if they exist, remain untouched. The stakes are clear. What you're allowed to see is never enough. What you're not allowed to see is what shapes history. You step back into the heat of the 20th century city, the echo of silence still clinging to your clothes. There are places you can enter, but never truly explore. The Vatican Archive is one of them. You cross continents next, drawn to a different kind of barrier. The air grows colder, thinner. You find yourself at the foot of Mount Yamantau, a hulking mass in the southern Urals. Here, the silence is not of books, but of wilderness and military patrols. The landscape is harsh, wind-carved and quiet. Roads snake toward the mountain, but each one is watched. Russian soldiers patrol the perimeters, eyes narrowed beneath peaked caps. No outsider has ever been allowed inside Mount Yamato. The official line is that it's a mining operation, a communications hub, or just another Cold War relic. But the fences are topped with razor wire, and cameras track every passing vehicle. You stand at the edge, boots crunching on gravel, feeling the weight of all that is hidden beyond the tree line. There are rumors, of course. Vast underground bunkers, enough to shield thousands from nuclear fire. Some say it's a command post that could outlast the end of the world. Others whisper about secret trains, tunnels carved deep into the mountain's heart. Yet, for all the speculation, no credible leak has ever emerged. Not a single photo, not a floor plan, not even a defector's sketch. The silence here is as absolute as the one in Rome. You watch as a convoy of trucks rumbles past, headlights flaring in the gathering dusk. The soldiers do not wave. They do not stop. You count the seconds until they vanish around a bend. The air is sharp with pine and cold stone. It's a different kind of claustrophobia, a boundary enforced by men with guns, not by ritual. On this threshold, the price of trespassing is far steeper. You take a step closer, feeling the crunch of frost beneath your heel. A distant patrol dog barks. You retreat, heart pounding, adrenaline mixing with awe. The barrier here is physical, but the effect is the same. You are kept out by layers of security, by the knowledge that access is not just forbidden, but impossible. The mountain looms, indifferent and silent. The hum of generators, the occasional glint of metal through the trees. These are the only hints of what might lie beneath. The unknown presses in, as dense as the stone itself. Back in the Vatican, the ritual suffocates. Here, the threat is immediate. You realize that every forbidden place crafts its own form of denial. In Rome, it is a careful dance of access and denial. In the Urals, it is a wall of silence and steel. Both are equally effective. The stakes remain. What you cannot see may matter more than what you can. What is withheld shapes the world in ways you may never understand. You pause, breath steaming in the cold air, and let the silence settle. Somewhere behind the fences, secrets are kept alive by process, by power, and by the simple refusal to let you in. The hum of machines fades into the dusk. You turn away, but the sensation lingers. A boundary pressed so close, you can almost feel it on your skin. You travel next to the edge of the Atlantic, where a wind-lashed island, Surtsey, rises from the sea, promising new mysteries and new barriers that are not of stone or steel, but of nature itself. Surtsey, Iceland, 6:35 a.m. You stand on the deck of a small research vessel, salt wind biting your cheeks, while a handful of scientists pull on heavy rubber boots. The Atlantic is a living grey. Waves slap the hull and gulls circle overhead. But your eyes are fixed on the low black mass that rises from the sea, a place almost no one is allowed to set foot upon. Here, at the edge of Surtsey, you're as close as the law permits. The rules are simple and absolute. Unless you're on the government's short list, the island is off limits. Not even Icelanders themselves can visit. except for a chosen few. You watch as the scientists check their gear in silence, glancing at the shore as if they're entering a cathedral where every pebble matters. No footprints linger here. The island itself is younger than the oldest living person you know, born from fire and water in 1963. The world watched through grainy television as a volcano burst from the Atlantic, hurling ash and rock into the sky. Over 3 years, Surtsey grew from nothing, as if conjured from myth or nightmare. The only permanent residents are birds and hardy plants. Every seed, every worm, every driftwood log is counted and catalogued by the scientists who come ashore. You can't help but notice the strictness of their ritual. Boots are scrubbed. Pockets are checked for seeds. Even the air feels filtered, as if the wind itself is under surveillance. You lean on the railing, breathing in the salt and sulfur, and realize something odd. Silence reigns here, not just from a lack of people, but because even the ocean seems to hush as you near the shore. The only sounds are the slap of waves and the distant, metallic click of a camera. You are watching a living experiment unfold, one that you can never truly enter. That's the price of Surtsey's purity. For the rest of the world, it remains a blank on the map, forbidden and fiercely protected. The rules are enforced not by guards, but by the strict gaze of science and law. Suddenly, the radio crackles, a coded burst of static, sharp and brief. The scientists stiffen, glance at one another, then mutter something about weather and tides. You sense there's more to their caution than preserving moss. Surtsey is a test of discipline. It's a place where even curiosity is rationed. You feel the weight of the rules pressing in, as if the island itself might vanish if you step past the invisible line. The boat turns away, engine humming low. The island recedes into morning mist. You're left with a paradox. Surtsey is not just forbidden for your protection, but to keep the world out of its fragile story. The scientists keep their notes hidden, their samples double-bagged. Even the birds seem to fly in careful patterns, as if obeying rules you'll never know. There's no fence, no checkpoint, just a silence that deepens the further you drift from shore. You wonder what secrets could possibly be worth such exile, and what might happen if that barrier ever broke. The air changes as the scene shifts, thousands of kilometers south, to the equator's belt. Now you linger just outside the range of a different kind of forbidden island, Diego Garcia. Here, the sun is a white-hot coin, and the horizon blurs with heat. The island itself is a green slash ringed with coral, patrolled by rigid order, and the low, constant whine of high-security technology. Unlike Surtsey, this place is forbidden by power, not by science. You're not alone. From your vantage on a support vessel, you watch dark shapes move along the runway. Military patrols sweep the beaches. The water shimmers. But beneath the surface, you know there are sensors, cameras, and the silent threat of being seen. Diego Garcia's runways stretch across the coral like scars. You hear the low thunder of jets rising into the sky. Somewhere inland, the whine of surveillance gear blends with the rumble of generators. This is not a place where silence is natural. Here, it's enforced, punctuated by the distant bark of a loudspeaker and the steady thud of boots on concrete. Diego Garcia's story is written in absences, absent civilians, absent history, absent transparency. You recall that its native population, the Chagossians, were displaced decades ago, their homes bulldozed, their boats burned, their exile enforced by treaties and military necessity. Now, only select personnel with clearances can land on the airstrip. The rest of the world is kept at a calculated distance, watched by radar and patrol boats. The stakes here are as high as they come. To set foot uninvited is to risk arrest, detention, or worse, a breather. If you trespass on Diego Garcia, you risk far more than a fine. The military takes no chances with its secrets. You scan the horizon for gaps, but every approach is covered. Even the sea feels hostile, a moat patrolled by unseen eyes. The island is forbidden not for its fragility, but for the power it projects. You sense that every pebble, every grain of sand is mapped and catalogued, but for reasons very different from Sutsi. Here, the stakes are not about preserving nature, but about controlling information and movement. You notice how the sounds of Diego Garcia never quite fade. The hum of machines is constant. The air is thick, heavy with humidity, and the scent of jet fuel. The heat presses in, claustrophobic, as you imagine the labyrinth of bunkers, hangars, and command centers beneath the palms. Every so often, a jet screams overhead, tearing the stillness apart. You wonder what secrets lie under those runways, rumors of hidden bunkers, surveillance rooms, and operations that never make the news. A short breather. The difference is clear. Sutse's silence protects life. Diego Garcia's noise protects power. Both keep you out, but for opposite reasons. You turn your mind to the paradox. Two islands, both forbidden, yet each enforces exile in its own way. On Surtsey, the silence is sacred, a shield for fragile beginnings. On Diego Garcia, silence is manufactured, a tool for secrecy and control. You sense that both places are experiments, one in ecology, the other in geopolitics. Yet neither will ever fully reveal its truth to you. The scientists on Surtsey return to their notebooks, recording the spread of lichen and the flight of gulls. Their data will shape what the world knows about life's resilience. On Diego Garcia, meanwhile, the data is encrypted, classified, and locked away. The people who work there speak in code and protocol, not in the language of discovery. You realize that even if you could cross the threshold, you would find only more barriers, more layers of secrecy. A plain statement. Accessing these islands means confronting the unknown and risking consequences that reach far beyond curiosity. The wind shifts, bringing the smell of salt and oil. You stare at the horizon, caught between the pull of myth and the push of authority. On Surtsey, the rules are written in law and trust. On Diego Garcia, they are enforced by men with guns and the hum of electronics. Both islands remain out of reach, their stories unfolding in silence or static, the world kept at arm's length. You think back to the maps, one marked with blank spaces and scientific notes, the other with coded airstrips and redacted reports. It strikes you that the forbidden is not always sinister. Sometimes it's just fragile or too powerful to risk. The true boundary may not be the fence or the patrol boat, but the silence that divides what you know from what you're allowed to find out. You've crossed two thresholds, but the rules of exile remain. Forbidden is a language both islands speak fluently. The boat turns again, leaving Diego Garcia behind. The sounds fade, first the jet engines, then the low hum of electronics. All that remains is the heat, the salt, and the tension of things unseen. You feel the paradox tighten. Two islands, two kinds of silence, and a world that insists some doors stay shut. Just before you leave the threshold entirely, you glimpse a shadow in the water, a shape that could be anything or nothing at all. The forbidden draws you closer, but the boundary holds. You step back, feeling the weight of rules and the pull of mystery. Not every secret can be claimed, not every island entered. As the morning brightens, you sense that the journey is far from over. New thresholds await, new barriers to press against. And somewhere ahead, beyond the reach of wind and water, a mountain calls you deeper into the unknown. Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado, late at night. You stand just beyond a steel blast door that looks thick enough to shrug off the end of the world. The fluorescent lights overhead flicker, cold and clinical, as if even the electricity is wary of what happens here. Your breath fogs in the chill. Recycled air, each inhale filtered and dry, untouched by the wild air outside. The hum of distant generators vibrates through your boots. Every surface, from the concrete underfoot to the steel rails set into the floor, whispers one message: endurance, not comfort. You're not alone. Security personnel move with silent efficiency, their uniforms blending into the grayness. Eyes flick over you, measuring your purpose, your threat level. Somewhere deeper inside, the mountain is alive with unseen activity, a world built to survive anything, even nuclear fire. The stakes are clear. If you go further, you confront secrets meant to outlast the world itself. Behind you, a memory, Iron Mountain. Its entrance is less militaristic, but the sensation is the same. Thick rock overhead, humidity pressed close like a damp blanket, and the endless promise of hidden things. Here, the vaults shelter not missiles, but fragile records, art, data, the paper skeletons of empires. You can almost taste the metallic tang in the air, the residue of decades spent underground. Someone whispers about a rare book collection, its pages sealed in inert gas. You feel the weight of history pressing close, as if the mountain itself keeps watch over civilization's backup drive. The atmosphere in these places is always the same, unnaturally still, with the faint, omnipresent hum of machinery and the sense that every corridor could lead to either salvation or oblivion. The silence behind the next door is absolute. No birds, no rustle of wind, only the low pulse of air handlers. Your heart beats a little faster. In these spaces, the unknown is not just a threat. It is the whole point. You follow a narrow corridor, each footstep echoing longer than feels natural. The walls are lined with cables and pipes, evidence of constant adaptation. Emergency signs glow faintly, promising safety. Yet, the deeper you go, the more you wonder what you're really being protected from. Is it the outside world, or something inside? At a junction, a sign points left to command, right to life support. Neither feels more welcoming. You choose command, drawn by the idea of control. The room ahead is a bunker within a bunker. Blast-proof walls, redundant systems, and banks of screens flickering with maps and coded alerts. A single red phone sits on a pedestal, a relic from a time when every second counted. You wonder who answers it today, and what messages still travel down those wires. Somewhere, a klaxon blares, a test or something more. The lights momentarily shift to amber, then fade back to sterile white. The air grows colder, as if the mountain braces for impact. You realize that everything here is designed to keep functioning, even when the rest of the world ceases to. The stakes are not abstract. To access this place is to gamble with the boundaries of secrecy, power, and myth. Even the simplest detail, a corridor's length, a door's thickness, becomes a clue to what lies beneath. You sense that if you crossed certain thresholds, you'd see things no outsider has witnessed. But the final doors remain closed, locked by protocols older than you. Now, your attention shifts to a place half a world away. Mount Yamantau, in Russia, rises from the Urals like a cold, sullen sentinel. The air outside is sharp, tinged with frost and secrecy. You can't approach the summit. The skies above are forbidden. No commercial flights, no curious satellites loitering for long. For decades, rumors have swirled about what lies inside the mountain. Curiously, not a single defector has ever told a tale of life deep within Yamantau's core. The silence is total. Western intelligence speculates. Is it a command center? A vault for treasures? A city built to outlast apocalypse? The only thing everyone agrees on is this. Whatever happens inside, it is not meant for outside eyes. You stand at the mountain's base, boots crunching over frostbitten grass. The wind bites at your face, carrying the faint taste of ozone and diesel. You listen for any sign of life, but only the distant rumble of machinery reaches you, an echo, or perhaps just your imagination. The gates are guarded, faceless figures watching from behind mirrored glass. Somewhere inside, the rumors say, are hydroponic gardens, rows of greens growing under artificial sun, the air thick with moisture and chlorophyll. Could an entire population survive here, cut off from the world for years? You hear stories of farms, fish tanks, even miniature forests cultivated in the dark. Yet no photographs surface, no blueprints leak. The mountain guards its truth with the patience only stone can offer. The consequence is simple. If you could see inside, you'd know more about the future of survival than any textbook could teach. But the mountain does not yield. Let your mind drift back to the Vatican, where secrecy takes a different form. Here, you stand not before rock and steel, but at a simple wooden door in a marble corridor. The Vatican's secret archives, officially the Archivum Secretum, are rumored to stretch for miles beneath Rome. The air is thick with incense, musty paper, and the faint click of shoes on ancient tiles. Researchers are allowed in, but only to a carefully curated portion. The rest remains locked down, its contents catalogued but not revealed. You picture rows of parchment, sealed boxes, and the persistent rumor of lost gospels or letters that could rewrite history. The silence here is different, less ominous, more oppressive. Every archivist knows what they cannot say. You run your fingers over a brass plaque, its Latin inscription half worn by centuries of touch. The room beyond is small, climate-controlled and watched by cameras. You sense the paradox at the heart of all these places. To preserve is to withhold. The archives exist to endure, yet endurance demands secrecy. A guard's eyes flick over you, measuring intent. You ask quietly about the forbidden stacks. The answer is polite, final. Only a select few, chosen and supervised, may enter. The rest must wait, perhaps forever. The consequence here is that history itself is a hostage to protocol. The motif returns, the hum of machines, the absence of natural light, the sense that every breath is borrowed from elsewhere. Each place, Cheyenne Mountain, Iron Mountain, Mount Yamantau, the Vatican, offers a different flavor of forbidden. The common thread is endurance, but endurance always has a price. In the mountain's heart, you hear a faint vibration, maybe distant voices, maybe just the resonance of secrets pressing against stone. Your skin prickles. Somewhere, a generator kicks on, sending a fresh pulse of electricity through the veins of the bunker. You realize you've lost all sense of time. Was it morning outside? Or does the sun even matter here? You imagine what would happen if the doors opened, if the archives were unsealed, if the mountain's gates swung wide. Would the world be safer or more afraid? The consequence sits heavy in the silence. To know is to risk, but not knowing is its own kind of danger. You retrace your steps, feeling the claustrophobic air press in. The corridor seems longer now, the hum louder, the chill deeper. Every forbidden place is a paradox, built to protect, yet always inviting curiosity. The stakes rise with every step you take, and you sense there are more thresholds ahead. You pause at the outer blast door. The faintest breeze slips through a crack, carrying with it the scent of pine and the far-off promise of daylight. For a moment, you remember what the world sounds like without machines. Then the door closes behind you, and the mountain's heartbeat resumes, steady and relentless. You keep moving, drawn by the next secret just out of sight. The world's most mysterious places never truly end. They only recede, waiting for someone bold enough to stand at their threshold. Alice Springs, Australia, 031:17 a.m. Just you, the fence, and the endless hum of the outback. The wind here is never silent. It carries grit and the strange electric shiver of something unseen. You stand at the edge of Pine Gap, the ground crunching beneath your boots. The domes loom ahead, pale and smooth, like the backs of great sleeping animals. Each shell hides an arsenal of secrets you are never meant to see. The only other presence is the silent eye of a camera, fixed and unblinking. You feel it before you see it. This place is as remote as it gets. There is no friendly sign, no welcome mat. Instead, the air has a charged stillness, broken only by the soft, mechanical thrum of satellite dishes sweeping the sky. You listen, but the wind drowns out any human sound. Out here, you are both observer and observed. Each step forward feels like a negotiation with the invisible. The grass at your feet is brittle, scorched flat by sun and secrecy alike. You press a palm to the fence. It vibrates ever so slightly alive with static. The domes, locals call them radames, cluster in the distance, each a sentinel watching the world. Pine Gap is famous in whispers and news articles, but no one outside the fence really knows what happens inside. The official story is joint intelligence. The unofficial story is a labyrinth of listening rooms, data tunnels, and the world's most sophisticated surveillance array. It is a paradox, a place designed to see everything, yet reveal nothing. The first twist hits as you notice a glint on the nearest dome, a tiny, deliberate shimmer. You realize the surface seems designed to diffuse reflections, making outside scrutiny harder. The consequence is plain. Not even the digital all-seeing eye can peer in here for long. You feel the weight of being watched, but also the thrill of proximity to the untouchable. You scan the horizon. In the other direction, the outback stretches without end. There are no towns, just the faint outline of a dirt road vanishing into blue. Closer in, the only residences belong to the facility's staff. Crossing that line without authorization isn't an option. The line between the inside and the outside is policed, not just by fences, but by invisible rules that shape the very air. The hum grows louder as you step parallel to the boundary. Occasionally, a flicker of movement, a utility vehicle, headlights off, cuts across the compound. You freeze, every sense alert. The drivers never look your way. They glide from dome to dome, as if rehearsing some silent ritual. Here, time is measured in rotations of satellites, not clocks. Every so often, you catch the scent of scorched ozone, punctuating the dry heat. You think about the stakes. This isn't just about secrets. Gaining access here means confronting what modern power really looks like, an architecture of hypervisibility and total secrecy. You are drawn in by the possibility of truth, but the cost is always risk. The hum of the machines is a lullaby and a warning. Suddenly, the wind shifts and brings a distant, rhythmic clicking from beyond the domes. It is not a natural sound. Somewhere out there, a signal is being intercepted, decrypted, or perhaps redirected. The consequence is immediate. You realize that even your thoughts of intrusion are anticipated here. The system is built to anticipate, to preempt. You picture the view from the other side. Inside Pine Gap, the rooms are windowless, filled with screens and blinking lights. Operators monitor signals from across the world, phone calls, satellite data, coded transmissions. Files are rarely moved. Instead, researchers request a specific file, which is brought out under supervision if approved. Every action is logged. Every glance is noted. You wonder how it feels to live a life where even curiosity is rationed. The ground beneath your feet is warm, radiating the memory of 1,000 desert days. You imagine the stories that never leave this fence line. In the early days, the facility was rumored to be a space tracking station. Later, it became the heart of something larger, a global listening post. The truth is rarely simple. You sense that every rumor holds a kernel of fact twisted by the need to conceal. Across the globe, another set of domes rises above Yorkshire's rolling hills, Menwith Hill. The English air is damp and heavy, far from the arid hush of Australia. Here, the golf ball domes dot the countryside, white against green. You stand at a different fence, but the feeling is the same. Watched, examined. The silence behind the barrier is absolute, broken only by the faint drone of machines. The paradox deepens. The more data these places gather, the less they reveal about themselves. You trace your finger along the cold metal mesh, feeling the condensation bead beneath your skin. Menwith Hill is a listening post, they say. But what it really listens for is less clear. Some claim it captures every signal, every phone call, every transmission, within reach of its satellites. The line between myth and reality blurs, as it always does at these thresholds. You lean in, straining to hear something, anything, that might give away the truth. But the only sound is the low, persistent hum. The fence here is higher, crowned with coils of razor wire. Beyond it, the domes are arranged in patterns that mean nothing to outsiders. Some say the layout is a code in itself, a map only the initiated can read. A sudden spotlight sweeps the perimeter, blinding you for a heartbeat. You step back instinctively, heart pounding. The light snaps off, leaving you in darkness again. The message is clear. Curiosity has its limits here. The consequence is that you remain on the outside, your questions unanswered for now. You remember stories of journalists who tried to cross these lines. At Mount Yamantau, far to the north, they were stopped, questioned, or turned away before reaching the base. The world's most forbidden places share this in common. The closer you get, the more resistance you encounter. The stakes are never abstract. Secrets kept here have shaped wars, diplomacy, and the very boundaries of power. You realize that these places are designed not just to collect information, but to project an aura of invincibility. Their silence is a kind of weapon. Somewhere in the archives of these bases, there are files so sensitive that access is a privilege granted only to a select few. Even then, each file is brought out under constant supervision, never left unattended. The rules are unyielding. The cost of a mistake is measured in careers, or worse. You wonder how many stories have been erased before they were ever told. The consequence is that history itself becomes a controlled substance. You turn your gaze back to the domes. Each one is a riddle, its true function hidden behind layers of security and myth. Some say that in places like Mount Yamantau, entire laboratories are buried within the mountain, developing weapons of mass destruction. The truth is not confirmed, but the rumors alone are enough to shape policy, to justify more secrecy, more barriers. You feel the claustrophobic press of air, heavy with the scent of damp earth and ozone. In these moments, the line between myth and reality dissolves. The only certainty is that you are being watched as much as you are watching. It is a dance that never ends. The hum of the machines fades, replaced by a sudden, profound silence. It is the silence of a place that guards its secrets with absolute conviction. In that stillness, you sense the enormity of what lies beyond the fence. The consequence is that you leave with more questions than answers. You step away from the barrier, boots crunching over gravel. The sky above is vast and empty, indifferent to the dramas unfolding below. You glance back once, half expecting to see movement in the shadows. But the domes remain inscrutable, their secrets intact. The paradox lingers as you walk. In an age of infinite surveillance, some places remain impenetrable. You are left to wonder what it means to live in a world where the most powerful eyes are also the most blind. You keep walking, the static still prickling at your skin. The next threshold waits ahead, cloaked in darkness, promising yet another layer of the unknown. The journey is never over. Not for you, not yet. You realize the surface seems designed to diffuse reflections, making outside scrutiny harder. Mexico, dawn. You and your guide stand at the mouth of darkness, lanterns trembling in your hands. The air is heavy, almost syrupy, as you duck beneath the rusted gate that marks the entrance to the Cave of the Crystals. Your boots crunch on pale gypsum dust, each step echoing into a silence so deep you feel it settle in your chest. Here, the world above, sun, noise, the familiar, is gone. Instead, you enter a cathedral sculpted by geology, not faith. You pause, letting your eyes adjust as your guide gestures to the gloom ahead. Then, the first selenite pillar comes into view, a monstrous, glassy blade soaring overhead, thick as a train car and longer than a city bus. The crystals glow with a ghostly light, fractured and refracted by your lantern. Sweat beads on your forehead. This is no ordinary cave. The humidity is suffocating. Each breath feels like inhaling soup. Your shirt clings to your skin, and you taste minerals on your tongue. Even your equipment fobs over, electronics wilting in the heat. Scientists call this place unlivable beyond a few minutes without a cooling suit. You understand why. The cave guards its wonders with a climate so brutal, even the boldest explorers are forced to retreat. You move deeper, careful not to touch the crystals. Even a fingerprint could scar their delicate surfaces. The silence here is total, broken only by the distant drip of mineral-laden water. The crystals themselves seem to pulse with secrets, as if they remember every quake and flood that shaped them over 500,000 years. You wonder what else might lie hidden beneath the dust, beyond the reach of light and air. For a moment, you feel the weight of time pressing down, as if you are trespassing in a place that never wanted visitors. The path narrows. You squeeze between pillars, sweat stinging your eyes. Your guide stops suddenly. A hairline fracture splits a nearby crystal, the mark of a recent tremor. This entire chamber could shift at any moment, sealing itself off for another 1,000 years. The cave is a living fortress, indifferent to your curiosity. One wrong move, and you could be entombed alongside secrets too vast for memory. This is why so few people enter. Nature is the most ruthless gatekeeper of all. It does not negotiate. You keep moving, the air growing hotter with every step. A breather. In places like this, the price of discovery is always risk. You emerge back into the half-light, lungs burning, grateful for the thin promise of outside air. Above ground, the world resumes its normal shape, but in your mind the cave lingers, a reminder that some mysteries are better left undisturbed. You set out across the basin, dust swirling around your boots. The desert sun is harsh, but not as unforgiving as the world beneath your feet. As you walk, you recall stories of other fortresses shaped by earth and time, not by human hands. The journey takes you east, past the vague outlines of old maps and into the heart of the mountains. Afghanistan, 1980s. You stand at the edge of a ravine, dust swirling in the updraft, eyes fixed on a jagged slope riddled with dark mouths. These are the entrances to the Tora Bora tunnels, a labyrinth carved by ancient waters and modern ambition. The wind here tastes of stone and something metallic, a scent that clings to your tongue. The only sound is the distant whine of a generator, somewhere behind a collapsed wall. You crouch at the entrance, flashlight beam swallowed by the black. The first step inside is a leap into history. The tunnels twist and fork, walls rough-hewn by hand and dynamite. You brush your palm against the stone, cold, damp, and unyielding. There are no signs, no maps, just endless passageways that double back on themselves. The deeper you go, the more claustrophobic the air becomes. Every echo feels like a footstep behind you, every whisper of wind a warning. Your guide points to a faded mark scratched into the rock. It is old, maybe decades, maybe centuries. The tunnels here are layered, a patchwork of natural caves, wartime bunkers, and forgotten hideouts. Some passages are wide enough for a truck. Others barely fit a crawling body. You pass an abandoned radio, wires tangled like veins. A rusted canteen sits beside it, still half full. You realize that every object left behind is a message from someone who vanished into these shadows. The tunnels are a living archive, recording the ambitions and failures of every would-be conqueror. The path forks. Your guide hesitates, then chooses left. You follow, heart pounding, boots slipping on gravel. The air is thick with dust and memory. A faint rumble shakes the ceiling. Somewhere above, the mountain flexes its muscles. You press on, knowing that the tunnels could collapse at any moment. Here, survival is a matter of luck, not skill. You feel the weight of every ton of stone overhead. A breather. In these places, your courage is measured by how far you're willing to chase the unknown. You surface at last, blinking in the pale morning light. The mountain looms behind you, its secrets sealed once more. You stand at the threshold, half in shadow, half in sun. This is the edge of what you're allowed to know. Beyond it, the world is rewritten by rumor and silence. The stakes are clear. Access means gambling with your own safety and with the boundaries that history has drawn. You move on, westward now, drawn by stories of a different kind of fortress. The wind carries the scent of pine and cold stone. Russia, late in the Cold War. You stand at the base of Mount Yamantau, a massif that rises like a fist from the Ural landscape. The air hums with the low thrum of distant machinery. You see fresh scars in the earth, vast excavation sites, new rail lines, and roads that snake into the mountain's heart. The place feels watched, even when no one is visible. You linger just outside a chain-link fence, boots pressed into the frost. Guards in heavy coats pace along the perimeter. Their faces are unreadable, eyes fixed on the horizon. You notice cameras, motion sensors, and a faint gleam of buried wires. The mountain itself is mute, but the human presence is unmistakable. Mount Yamantau has become a symbol of secrecy, its true purpose hidden behind layers of rumor and denial. No official admits what lies inside, but everyone knows to stay away. You listen. The silence is broken only by the hum of a generator somewhere deep within the trees. Some say the mountain contains dormitories, hospitals, command centers, and communication hubs, all dug beneath the rock. Others believe it shelters something far stranger, a relic perhaps, or a weapon that history forgot. You peer through the fence, the cold biting at your cheeks. The truth is close, but always just out of reach. You feel the weight of all that is unspoken. The mountain reveals nothing. A breather. In places like this, the barrier is not just physical. It's a silence enforced by power. You circle the fence, boots crunching over frost and gravel. Each step is a reminder that some boundaries are fixed not by nature, but by fear. The mountain watches, impassive. You wonder how many secrets are buried within, how many stories will never be told. For a moment, you catch a glimpse of movement, a figure in the trees, gone before you can focus. You keep walking, knowing the answer is always just one step further than you can go. The journey continues. You find yourself in a city, within a city. Cobblestones echoing underfoot, the air thick with incense and old paper. This is Vatican City, a fortress of faith and bureaucracy. You stand before the doors of the secret archives, their bronze faces carved with symbols you do not recognize. The guards here do not carry rifles, but their stares are just as sharp. You are not permitted beyond this threshold. Most of the Vatican's secret archives remain completely closed off to researchers. Only a privileged few are allowed inside, and even then, only for brief glimpses. You press your hand against cool marble, feeling the centuries pulse beneath your palm. The silence here is different, less hostile, more watchful. You can almost hear the rustle of parchment, the scratch of quills, the whispered debates of long-dead clerks. The archives hold millions of documents, some sealed for reasons no one will explain. Myths swirl about what lies hidden. Lost gospels, forbidden histories, even records that could rewrite the story of power itself. You listen for any sign, but the only sound is your own breath, slow and uncertain. A breather. In this place, the boundary is knowledge itself. What you cannot see, you cannot question. You step back, boots echoing on ancient stone. The guards nod, their expressions unreadable. You are left with only the scent of old books and the lingering sense of unfinished business. The city outside bustles, unaware of the secrets that sleep behind those doors. You walk on, the weight of all you do not know pressing at your shoulders. In every place you have visited, the cave, the tunnel, the mountain, the archive, the barrier is both real and symbolic. Some secrets are guarded by stone, some by steel, others by silence and time. The closer you get, the more you realize that the forbidden is not just about danger, but about the challenge to your very sense of what is possible. Each threshold you stand at is an invitation to imagine what lies beyond. You pause, feeling the hum of machines, the hush behind the fence, the raw sting of cold air. The world is full of fortresses. Not all of them want to be breached. You continue your journey, boots carrying you toward the next threshold. You pause at the edge of a closed town. a silent archive, a guarded island, knowing that the greatest mysteries are always just out of reach, waiting for someone bold enough to try. Northern Urals, dusk. You stand at the checkpoint barrier with the local driver and the hush of unseen eyes. The cold here is not just a temperature, it's a presence, an old wariness that settles between the spruce trunks as the light fades. You can see the gate, but the road bends away, as if the mountain itself prefers to be forgotten. Behind you, the town looks ordinary, low concrete apartment blocks, a playground with rusted swings. But you feel the weight in the air, as if each window conceals a secret. The town is closed. Outsiders rarely get this close. The local driver glances at you, then at the fence ahead. He says nothing, and you understand. Words are a kind of currency here, and no one spends them lightly. You hear a faint electric hum from the security lights. It's a sound you feel in your teeth, more than your ears. Somewhere beyond the fence, Mount Yamantau rises in the darkness, its slopes hidden by cloud and rumor. Some say there are miles of tunnels bored into the rock, a labyrinth of steel and concrete, sealed from the world. Other rumors swirl, weapons, bunkers, entire cities under the mountain. You ask yourself who decides what becomes myth and what remains fact. The guards at this checkpoint never explain. If you ask too many questions, you're told to leave. Journalists have tried to approach before, but most are stopped, questioned, or turned away long before they reach the base. You wonder what happens to the stories that never leave this place. The stakes are not just national security, they're personal. Some families have lived in the shadow of this mountain for generations, never knowing exactly what lies beneath. The cost is measured in silence. You step away from the fence, boots crunching on frost-hardened earth. The driver breathes out, a long plume of vapor. He nods toward the mountain, then away, as if to say, enough. You walk the perimeter, following the curve of razor wire. The ground is uneven here. Each step reminds you that this is no ordinary border. Somewhere, a dog barks once and falls quiet. The only other sound is the wind, carrying the scent of oil and cold iron. You try to imagine the world beneath your feet. Some theories suggest Mount Yamantau functions as a weapons development center. Others insist it's a vault for the nation's most sensitive secrets. The government says little. You realize that the more you learn, the less you know. The mountain's silence is its own language. In the early 20th century, places like this multiplied across the globe. The line between myth and reality blurred, as governments built secret worlds beneath deserts, mountains, and islands. You picture the Vatican's secret archives now, thousands of miles away, but connected by the same logic of exclusion. Most of those archives remain completely closed off to researchers. You wonder how many truths are locked away, gathering dust. Here in the Urals, the cost of secrecy is visible in the faces you pass. The shopkeeper who doesn't ask your name. The children who play near the fence but never cross it. The old men who remember when the mountain was just a mountain. You see them, and you see yourself, an outsider, always on the threshold. Every forbidden place casts a long shadow. You feel it in the way people avoid your gaze, in the hush that falls when you mention the mountain. This shadow divides families, erases histories, spins myths to fill the silence. You realize the people living here are keepers and exiles both. They shape their lives around invisible lines. The border is not just a fence. It's a habit, a legacy. For a moment, you imagine what would happen if the fence disappeared. Would the town change? Or would the secrets simply slip further underground? You remember hearing that Mount Yamantau is located in the Urals. The geography alone makes it a fortress, remote, rugged, hard to reach. The mountain controls who comes and who goes. You notice how the air feels heavier the closer you get to the gate. Your breath comes out short, the cold biting your skin. The silence behind the fence is near total, broken only by the faint hum of machines. It's not the silence of peace. It's the silence of waiting. Every so often, you glimpse a figure in a watchtower. The guards do not wave. They do not speak. You wonder what they see, just another visitor or a potential threat. The tension is palpable, as if the land itself is holding its breath. You walk back toward the town, the streetlights flickering on one by one. The people inside their homes do not look out. Their lives move in quiet patterns, shaped by the presence just beyond their windows. You pass a mural, faded with age, showing a mountain crowned with light. The paint is peeling, but the message is clear. The mountain is both protector and warden. You think about the children, growing up with stories they're not allowed to ask about. The forbidden becomes familiar. The unknown becomes routine. The cost of secrecy, you realize, is measured not just in what is hidden, but in what is lost. For the people who live near these sites, the line between keeper and exile blurs. You see it in the way they talk, the way they move, the way they avoid the fence. You feel it in yourself, a longing to know, and the fear of what knowing might cost. The stakes are not abstract. Accessing these places means confronting the unknown. It means risking truth, danger, or challenging the very boundaries of secrecy that define power, security, and myth. You hear the wind shift, carrying the distant clatter of a train. For a moment, the mountain disappears in the dark. The silence is complete. You stand there, caught between myth and reality, and the world feels smaller, more fragile. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the mountain breathe. The air is dense, claustrophobic, as if the secrets below are pressing upward, straining against the earth. You find yourself tracing the fence with your fingertips, feeling the cold metal bite your skin. The driver waits by the car, engine idling, headlights cutting through the dusk. He does not urge you to hurry, but you sense his impatience. For him, this is routine. For you, it's a threshold you may never cross again. You turn away from the fence, the mountain at your back. The road ahead is empty, lined with birch trees and the last glint of fading light. You walk in silence, boots echoing on the asphalt. The journey is not over. The unanswered questions follow you, close as your own shadow. One last look over your shoulder, the gate, the fence, the mountain shrouded in cloud. The secrets remain, for now. Beyond the threshold, the world hums with unanswered questions. Mount Yamantau, Southern Urals, dusk, you, two silent guards, and a horizon of razor wire. The mountain's shadow stretches across the crumpled earth, swallowing the end of the road and the nervous glances of your escort. You can smell cold stone and diesel from trucks idling somewhere out of sight. The air is thin, part mountain, part expectation, while the only sound is the mechanical hum of a generator behind the fence. The silence beyond it is absolute. You stand at the threshold, boots crunching frost, while a pair of eyes behind mirrored sunglasses tracks your every move. This place does not announce its purpose. The Russian government has offered a carousel of explanations for Mount Yamantau: food storage, mining, a safe for cultural treasures. Each answer rings hollow in the mountain air. It feels like a performance, one designed to keep you guessing rather than knowing. Satellite images, sharper than any spy camera of the Cold War, reveal vast scars on the mountainside. You glimpse the outlines of new roads, rail spurs, and the dark mouths of tunnels too large for mere miners. Fresh earth piles high against the snow, and at certain angles you catch the glint of steel doors built to withstand more than winter storms. The sense of scale is staggering. You wonder how deep these tunnels run, and what waits in the darkness. You step closer to the gate, feeling the hum of hidden machinery through your soles. The guards don't speak. Their silence is a wall as thick as the mountain itself. The only invitation is the soft click of a camera lens somewhere above. This is a place where secrets are not just kept, they are cultivated, tended like rare flowers no outsider will ever see bloom. A low rumble rose from within the mountain, vibrating the ground like a distant thunderstorm. For a moment you imagine thousands of people below, walking halls lined with pipes and humming lights. Some analysts believe the Mount Yamantau complex could shelter tens of thousands in an emergency. If true, the world above could end, and life would go on, hidden beneath stone and steel. That possibility lingers in the cold. During the 1970s and 80s, American satellites caught glimpses of something odd here. Massive excavation sites appeared, then vanished beneath new camouflage. Rail lines extended like tentacles, feeding the mountain with endless supplies. Each new addition deepened the mystery. If this was only a warehouse or a vault for art, why all the secrecy? Why the constant parade of trucks and guards, even now, decades after the Soviet Union's collapse? You notice the wild silence on this side of the fence. No birds sing, no insects buzz. Only the wind, sharp and metallic, stirs the grass. It could be the altitude, or maybe the weight of what lies below. Sometimes the most heavily guarded secrets are the ones that don't make a sound. You catch a flicker of movement at a secondary gate, another patrol, faces expressionless, boots pounding in a rhythm that matches your own heartbeat. The mountain watches you back. You realize, with a start, that you are not here to see what is inside. You are here to be seen, to be reminded that some doors do not open, no matter how hard you knock. There are stories, of course. Whispers of missile silos, hidden bunkers and command centers buried so deep that no bomb could ever reach them. Some say the tunnels twist for miles, forming a labyrinth that could swallow a city whole. Others claim there are train tracks underground, ready to whisk away the chosen few should disaster strike. The air is thick with rumor, each tale more outlandish than the last. Yet the facts, the ones you can see, are stranger still. A satellite passes overhead, invisible but ever-present. It sees only what the mountain allows. Sprawling construction projects and new tunnel entrances appear, then vanish beneath camouflage netting. The pattern repeats year after year, as if the mountain is still growing. You wonder how many layers of secrecy have been laid down here, and how many have yet to be discovered. You lean against the cold fence, feeling the steel bite through your gloves. A siren wails in the distance, short, sharp, and gone. Somewhere beyond the wire, a heavy door slams shut. You imagine the echo rolling through miles of empty corridor. There is a sense that the mountain itself is alive, breathing secrets through its stone lungs. The stakes here are not just national security or military might. They are existential. Accessing a place like Mount Yamantau is to confront the unknown, to risk truth, danger, and the wrath of those who built these barriers in the first place. The silence is not just absence, it is a warning. If you step beyond this threshold, you challenge the very boundaries that define who controls knowledge and who does not. You look back at your reflection in the mirrored sunglasses. For a moment, you see not just yourself, but everyone who has ever stood at the edge of a forbidden place. The line between myth and reality blurs. Here, a locked gate is more than a barrier. It is a question with no answer. The hum of the generator fades, replaced by the slow drum of your own pulse. The mountain looms, indifferent to your presence. You picture the world beneath your feet. A warren of tunnels, humming with unseen life or standing silent, waiting for a future emergency. Maybe both. The paradox remains unresolved. A breath of wind brings the scent of snow and diesel, sharp and clean. You taste metal on your tongue. The cold seeps through your jacket, and you pull it tighter. Each sensation is a reminder that you are an outsider here, at the mercy of forces you cannot name. Time slows at the threshold. The guards shift, the cameras blink, and somewhere inside, another secret is locked away. The world behind you hums with unanswered questions. The doors remain closed. You turn away, changed by the journey. The mountain remains silent, its secrets untouched. Some mysteries are guarded, not just by fences or laws, but by the power of not knowing. You feel the weight of what you cannot see, and the invitation to wonder what lies just out of reach.